Hey everyone, Brian Von Via here, back at it again with another set of D&D stories. Make sure you've got a snack ready and some hydration too, because we're in for a doozy tonight. D&D players that had their characters captured. One was the funniest way you or another player escaped. Part 1. I had a level 10 wizard from the Order of Scribes, important later. She got herself captured while she was attempting to steal several spell scrolls from the magical item store in a city. She loves to collect spells. She's planning on turning herself into a lich to keep collecting, and her background was criminal, so she could do it. When she was taken to the jails, the guards took all of her items. When the guards put her in the cell, she begged the guards to give her a blank book so she could draw in. She is not very good at persuasion, but she is good at deception. She was telling the guards that she wanted to draw them in heroic poses, telling them that they are very brave to be guards and keeping the people safe, and asking them what harm could a simple blank book do. Well, with some good rolls, she convinced the guards to give her the blank book. She then told them to be back in 4 hours and she will have a sketch for them and the guards leave her alone. Now if you don't know, but Order of Scribes has two really fun abilities. Is the ability Wizard Quill. It can make its own magical ink. Your spellbook is Awaken. You can use it as a spell focus. And you can, while using the Wizardry Quill, draw an arcane sigil on a blank book. It takes a short rest to draw the sigil, but once you are done, your spellbook's consciousness is summoned into the new book, which the consciousness transforms into your spellbook along with all its spells. And once per long rest, you can cast a ritual spell as a ritual without adding the extra 10 minutes cast time. Now this is where the fun begins. Before she started drawing the sigil, she took out one page and then started to draw the sigil. After the short rest, she has her spellbook back with all of her spells. With the piece of paper she took out beforehand, she did a very quick sketch of herself standing over them heroically and mocking them for falling for her trick. Then she summoned her familiar back. She had it in the pocket dimension just in case. Now, she knew where the guards put her stuff, so she sent her cat to them room. Luckily, it was within range for her to see through her cat. Once the cat was in the room where her stuff was at, she made sure no one was around that room and then cast a dimension door to that room, while looking through the eyes of her cat. But before she casted the spell, she left her drawing for the guards to find. Now in the room with her stuff, she grabbed all of her stuff and started to cast Teleportation Circle. Remember that her spellbook lets her cast a ritual spell without the extra 10 minutes cast time. She was able to cast Teleportation Circle in 1 minute and escape. The whole thing took about 1 hour and 40 minutes or so in-game. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, the rest of the party were sleeping at the inn and they had no idea what was going on. So it was fun trying to explain to them why there was a bounty for her now. Oh, and my DM didn't know anything about what I can do with a blank book. In a party of morally ambiguous alignment, party member of some mild renown got captured in a large town he had never been in by a political rival faction of the person he had helped in the capital. The rest of the party never got a spotlight. So we found someone with the same build and close enough facial structure, knocked him out, dressed him up in the party member's clothes, and used a disguise kit to make him look like the etching in the paper that made the party member famous. Used the specific clothes he had been wearing. Having a reasonably close doppelganger, we dressed up in the fashion of the nearby hamlets and proceeded to convince the town guard that the reports of Augustus Gloom were correct, but they got the wrong guy. They clearly got our cousin Jack Arcess, but don't worry, we got the real Augustus right here. Several minutes of arguing and bribing later, we successfully trade a dolled up, unconscious, unfortunate bumpkin for our slightly infamous socialite turned guy who killed a major political candidate in a duel a few towns over. Playing Exalted. My friend went off and sprung an obvious trap, getting himself locked up while no one knew his location. He was sent to the city's castle to hold him, and the story moved on. Meanwhile, I was bargaining with the lords of the city and took control of the city-state, being shown through my new castle, and finding my friend being held in my newly acquired dungeon was a much easier than expected jailbreak. Back when I got my first character, a dragonborn bear totem barbarian named Shitting Clock. Our party was only just captured by a group of orcs. Our rogue, aka Small Man, pulled some moves, but just got unlucky. We were locked in a cage in a dungeon when we awoke. The sorcerer, Magic Man, managed to get rid of a reappearing door by removing the wards. When we got out, we managed to overpower the guards, and since we were fresh off level 4, I remembered the tavern brawler feat which I had taken, ripped the arms off the guards, and boom, improvised weapons as good as my missing swords. I then used the readily acquired stumps to club all the guards in our way to death until we reached our loot and fought our way out of the dungeon. All except for one party member was captured due to accidentally letting it slip that we had burned down the town's only church, and we were working out the best way to escape while our party leader tried working out how to legally get us out on probation or community service. Neither of us knew what the other was doing. All our leader had seen was us getting arrested, and all we saw was him leaving town, but we didn't know that he was going to get his bodyguard back at camp to contact his court connections. So a dwarven rogue, got confirmation from the DM that my head could fit through the slot where our food came through. So I suggested to our Goliath and Barbarian players that they break my body as much as possible while leaving my spine and head intact so I could be squeezed through the opening. Then, since the majority of the rest of our party had healing spells, they use it on me, and our two bards inspire them while doing so. My player made it out of the cell. It took a few turns to heal to where I could crawl well enough to still sneak. Then I half snuck / half dragged my body out of the main holding area and found some keys, opened the cell door, and ended up being used as a human shield by one of our barbarians. After I died, they gave my corpse to the Goliath, who used me as a weapon. Afterwards, they found someone to revive, which was fun to watch since my player was the one to come up with since myself, and the party leader were usually the only ones to come up with ideas. I was playing a dragonborn barbarian with the street urchin background. I had made it a thing for him to never surrender. It just wasn't in his wheelhouse. The DM had us arrive in this dwarven city where we were welcomed with open arms. Then an NPC we'd never met essentially made us give up the MacGuffin, which we didn't appreciate. We followed him out of the city and wrecked his whole day and his carriage. My friend used a warlock spell to rip it to shreds, then we took the MacGuffin back. Then the city guard decided to arrest us while they investigated the incident. My barb said he was not going back into that city. The others in the party go along to get along, but not my boy. I stow my axe and start brawling with the guards unarmed. Then the guard captain starts using her warhammer and beats me down. I didn't draw my weapon, and the last thing the other characters saw was her standing over me, hammer raised for a killing blow as the gates closed between us. So they decide I'm dead and escape the city without me, and the DM had to have an NPC help me escape, as I had no way to do it on my own. I admit the players were acting childishly, but the DM was being absurd that whole game, to the point his wife several times called him on it. TLDR, made the DM Deus Ex Machina me out of the dungeon. Me and my party and I, were put into a dungeon because of murder. I didn't do it. The kid sacrificed himself to a deity. And excluding me, the whole party escaped the prison with stealth checks ranging from 10, 14, 16. Surprisingly, they passed since the guards were asleep and the kid's little brother broke them out and turned them back in, so they are charged with possible murder and attempted jailbreak. It was our first session, and our DM had our party of 3 all arrested for separate things and thrown into a cell together. He kept us there for a while, and we all assumed we had to figure out an escape route. So I was playing a Kender rogue. We had a bard shapeshifter and a dragonborn ranger. I reached into my pocket hoping to roll well enough to pull out something to help, like maybe a key? I came back with a small ball of goop. So, as a token of friendship, I split it into 3 and gave equal parts to my new friends. Our Dragonborn decided to use his acid spray on the door and melted the lock open, and we proceeded to attempt sneaking through the guards' barracks to find the trunk with our stuff. After finding our chest of belongings, we were of course surprised by a guard who decided to try and subdue us. I panicked and checked my pockets again for something useful, coming up with yet another strange item. a thimble with a cute painting of a turtle on one side. I promptly donned the turtle thimble and jumped on the guard, pushing it into his eye socket and immobilizing him. We escaped with our things. Our DM was both horrified and impressed, mostly horrified. I'm just impressed. He then let us know we would have been free to go if we had just waited patiently and gotten to know each other. But now we were wanted fugitives for killing a guard. We didn't go back to that town for another year. Party had analysis paralysis about escaping a tower room being actively broken into. I suggested tying bedsheets into a rope, hiding just out the window on the wall of the tower till they leave, carefully climbing the cobblestones down, etc. And all my suggestions were met with, "No, that wouldn't work," and whining about the situation getting worse. After 10 IRL minutes of this suggesting, rejecting game, I just didn't care anymore and asked the DM if I could attempt to soften my fall down the tower with a strong fart. 3 nat 20s later, I was jetpacking my ass, literally, out of the tower and into safety in the soft embrace of my own fart clouds. Yes, I realize my lifetime of luck materialized in those roles, and it will probably never happen again. But at least I got to told you so the shit out of my friends, literally, who promptly made ropes of the bedsheets. I had a player who dressed in a giant cat suit to hide in a stage performance. He knew the person they needed was in a palanquin, so he started throwing open the curtains of each one near the front of the stage. When he found the correct one, he was immediately poisoned and knocked unconscious. Upon waking up, he found himself still in the costume tied to a pole underground. While bad people were talking, he wiggled out of the cat suit, leaving it tied up, and hid to eavesdrop as the bad people interrogated his empty cat suit. Hey everyone, Brian Von VA here, checking in after the stories, of course. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and if you haven't, make sure to ring that bell so you can get notified when we upload a new vid or go live. And make sure to follow us on Twitter and Twitch, and to join the subreddit r/MrRipper, where you can upload your stories for us to read. Using a help action, you can come check out your favorite voice actor from Ohio, Brian Von VA, me, over on YouTube where I stream games and make voice acting vids. As always, I try to leave things on a positive note here. I just want to ask you one thing. How have you been lately? No, seriously, how have you been lately? Tell me about the good things, the bad things. Let me know in the comments below just how you've been doing inside and out. Did you get a new job? Did you lose a job? Did you get a new boyfriend or girlfriend, or did you lose one? How are your pets doing? How is your family doing? Tell me everything and anything in the comments below, because I want to make sure that you're all doing okay out there. All the love. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.